Well, the property tax system is broken. Pretty bold statement, but it's one that Gord Hume is making this morning in front of a room full of municipal leaders. He's the author of the book, Taking Back Our Cities, and he's speaking at the National Infrastructure Summit in Regina this week. And he joins us now. Good morning to you, Gord Hume.
Good morning, Sheila. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. Of course, my ears perk up when I hear imagine a world without property taxes. Tell us about your view on the way things work right now when it comes to property taxes.
Well, the simple reality, Sheila, is that property taxes are an enormously inefficient way to collect money to pay for government services. They don't tax productive values. They're not consistent from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. And yet we still have this 17th century tax model for towns and cities in Canada that depend on property taxes for most of their revenue.
Is there anything right about it? I mean, you know, it is based in part on the value of your home and the wealth of your neighborhood and all those kinds of things.
Oh, sure. And I'm not proposing that you can eliminate the property taxes. What I'm arguing is that we have to reduce municipalities' dependence on it by getting new consumption-based taxes. And one of the big reasons is because of the cost of infrastructure for towns and cities and across the country. That's what the conference is all about right now. That's why the Saskatchewan Heavy Construction Association people brought me in. But the simple reality is that our infrastructure deficit in this country is enormous. It is getting worse. It has the impact on our productivity and on our competitiveness. And as we're increasingly in a global economy, municipalities have to step up and look at doing business differently.
Okay, so when you talk about consumption-based taxes, are you connecting with all, like, I hear all these people who don't have children saying, why should I pay school taxes?
Sure.
Is that what you're talking about, making it very specific?
No, what we're talking about is things like sales tax or income tax or something like that people are normally paying in the course of business and their lives. And the simple reality is that all municipal leaders, if you put a gun to their head, would admit that property taxes are an inefficient system of paying for local government. And yet we've been burdened with this for hundreds of years. And it's simply time to start changing the system because the demands on municipalities, Sheila, are so immense today. And Saskatchewan actually has been one of the leaders. Saskatchewan now gives 1% of its PST to municipalities. That's the first time in Canada that has happened. So there are ways to make some changes out there. But when you look at the infrastructure problems that we have, not just in Saskatchewan, but across the country and indeed around the world, we're talking trillions of dollars that will be spent and invested in municipal infrastructure, and the property tax base simply cannot pay for those.
Are there other places around the world where your ideas, the kinds of things you're talking about, are working?
Well, for example, in the U.S., 34 different states allow their cities to charge their own sales tax. And cities from New York to Glendale in Arizona, that's how they're paying for keeping the Phoenix Coyotes there as a local sales tax. So, sure, there are any number of things. In other countries around the world, you'll see the central government make significant grants to municipalities so that they understand that the costs of infrastructure and so on are better spread out over the larger tax base.
What do critics of this say?
About my concept?
Yes, I'm assuming you do have critics.
Well, they're not terribly vocal because, frankly, it just makes sense to people who understand government. You know, what I'm calling for is something of a reordering of government. You know, we're very inefficient in this country with our 6 levels of government. We need to figure out better who does what, and the order of government that can best deliver those services economically should get the revenue that goes with it.
So what's at stake if that doesn't change?
Well, increasingly you're seeing a shift in the global economy from North American and Western European cities to cities in Asia, Africa, India, the Southeast, and so on. Let me tell you about a new city in South Korea, Sheila, called Songdo. You've probably never heard of it, nor as you would have. It didn't exist 10 years ago. But it has become a major international finance and commercial center. It's built on reclaimed land near Incheon. Has a Jack Nicklaus design golf course. 75,000 people live there. 300,000 people work there. It's a $40 billion project financed by private corporations.
Wow.
That's the new competition that cities have. And frankly, in North America, we don't understand that very well. We're falling behind. So that's part of the message that I'm bringing. And a lot of it, I mean, you look at Ottawa, the sinkhole that shut down the freeway last week. Pieces of the Gardiner Expressway in Toronto are literally falling off and crashing onto cars below. Think about the needs for our hospitals and education. Think about streets and how we're going to, rebuild communities and neighborhoods. What I'm suggesting is that in Canada, our municipal infrastructure deficit is approaching $1 trillion. That's an enormous amount of money over the next 20, 30 years. We don't have a number, we don't have a plan, and frankly, we don't have the financing for it.
All right, well, we'll have to leave it at that for now. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks, Sheila. Pleasure.
Bye. Gord Hume is an author and retired city councillor. You can get more information on his book at gordhume.com.